Very good evening, guys. Hope you all are doing well. Let's start with today's session. Now, in today's session, we are going to discuss about how we are going to do database connectivity through Python. Okay, means using Python language, we are going to interact with some database management system. So I'm preferring MySQL. So we will be interacting with MySQL via Python as a host language. And why we have to do? Because we want to take advantages of both. Like if you want to store large amount of data, and not only storing large amount of data, you want to do operations also on that data. Like you want to store, retrieve, manipulate, getting you want to add new information, delete information. Okay. So for doing all this, we will need database management system because Python is not having its own ability. Python is the host language. Maximum it can deal with files, isn't it? As a host language, maximum you can store information in files. And then you can dump in the file and then you can read value from the file. But there are a lot of limitations on file. Like you cannot set relationship between files. When the file size become larger, processing the file is time consuming. Then no security to the file. Okay, so a lot of drawbacks are there only dealing with files. So for handling the data, there are already softwares. Which softwares? Database management system. They are taking care of it, storing your data. They will do the insertion work, deletion work, retrieval, updation, everything, providing security to it. All the things that database management system do. And for dealing with it, you don't have to write algorithms also. It is a non-procedural way. You just have to give commands called as a SQL commands. Correct? So I am going to take the benefit of database management system, but I want advantages of host language Python also. Like all the features, data type, arrays, like different data structures are provided, loopings and all. Then UI designing, front end part and all you want to design. So for that, which language is suitable? Python. But to deal with the large amount of data, Python and file handling is not a good option. Getting lot of drawbacks. So for storing large amount of data and doing operations on that data, good thing is database management system. But taking the benefit of which language also? Python. So now how to achieve the communication? So we need some library, and using that library, we can interact Python with MySQL. MySQL will output. That library will collect that output and give it to Python. That's simple it is. Get it? So we just need a connector. We can also call it as a library. In between, there is a library which does the handshake work developed in Python. Then this is your Python application, okay, .py file. And this is your database management system, which is storing your large amount of data and everything. So through Python script, we will send the request. This library will take your request, submit to DBMS. DBMS will process it, give the reply. Library will collect the reply and present that reply back to you. Getting? But then you'll say, what is the job of this library? Lot of things. Data type matching, like Python data type to MySQL data type. Like in Python, we have string, but there we have varchar, right or no? Here we have float. Here you may have decimal. So data type matching and all. Error conversions, whatever errors DBMS generate, that errors are to be converted to Python specific error. A lot of things this library does. Getting because this library is having knowledge of your DBMS also and the host language. Okay. So in short, what we want to do is we want to write Python applications through which we will interact with DBMS. We are going to take the benefit of DBMS also and the benefit of host language. Okay? Host language is Python. It's not like in Python only you can do. There are many host languages which give facility of doing database communication. I did first time in C++ and Sybase. Sybase is a database on Unix. So I wrote C++ program and interacted with Sybase on Unix. Then later we have done in Pascal and Delphi. Then many other like many things like in uh, Java we have done with Oracle. Same way Python and MySQL is a good combination. Okay. So now let's dive with all these things one by one. So we will see how to do this interaction. Okay. But for doing all this, you don't have to write abundant algorithms. You just have to use queries, and they are called as SQL queries. If you want to create a table, you want to insert record, retrieve record, delete record, for all these queries are there. So through Python application, you'll submit the query. Your library will take the query, give it to the DBMS. DBMS will run it, produce the output. Library will collect the output and give it back to your application. And while doing that, it may do the type conversions from Python to MySQL, MySQL to Python. It may do error conversions and all. All the things these libraries will take care of. Okay. So database connectivity allows a Python program to communicate with a MySQL database. By doing the database connectivity, you can write a Python program, and that Python program can communicate with your MySQL database management system. MySQL is a database management system. SQL is the language used to interact with DBMS. If you want to interact with DBMS, the language used for communicating is SQL. And MySQL is the example of DBMS, like Oracle, then SQL Server, many are there. Now there are many new trending coming, Snowflake and all, many are there. Then we have other database management which are NoSQL based, like MongoDB, Firebase, and Redis, and many other. So what we are going to do is clear to you. Now using this database connectivity, what all things we can do via Python. Okay. So in Python, using connectivity, uh, what we'll do is 1 minute, guys. Just I'll switch to some other place. Okay. Sorry for interruption, guys. Okay. So what all things we'll be doing using Python in this database connectivity? So obviously, first we can insert records, then means add a new data to the database. We can update the records through this Python program using database connectivity. Through Python program using database connectivity, we will be modifying the existing records, deleting the records, remove data from the database. Even we will retrieve the records. All things we'll learn one by one. Don't worry. Okay, so we'll be how to retrieve that record, and whatever records your DBMS will send, we will collect it in Python. And after collecting in Python, we will show it to the end user. Now, in this chapter, we'll do it console based, but then I'll be teaching you about GUI also, tick enter library, and we'll create some screens and all. So through that screens also, you can show the output. You can create a GUI, and in that GUI also, you can display that output. So fetch data from the database and then execute queries. Okay, retrieving the data and run SQL commands dynamically. Now, different SQL commands are there. Then in that command, you can change the values. Okay, so we'll be learning how all these things will be done one by one. Okay, so basic idea, I hope you got it, guys. Now, how the architecture works. So this is your Python program. This is the library which Python people have developed specially for MySQL called PyMySQL. If you want to deal with Mongo, there is separate library. Okay, for every database, they have made different libraries. And it is not that difficult. Using peep command, you can download and install. We have seen it in NumPy, Pandas, and all. Yes or no? We installed NumPy, we installed Pandas. Same way, using peep command, you can install this PyMySQL connector. So main is your application, then this connector, that is the library, which is developed by Python people as a Python library for MySQL connectivity, and your MySQL database management system. What is the job of all three? Getting? So few points I'll tell you. This is your main application, main Python application. In this, we will be establishing connection. Then we will be submitting the queries. We will be collecting the result. We'll be processing that result and show it to the end user. Okay. So all that activities we do in this Python program. Okay. So in this Python program, what things we are going to do? We will establish the connection with the backend, because unless and until you establish the connection, you cannot start sending the query, because it is a total two different entities. Database management system is completely different, and your Python application. So when two entities want to communicate, you first have to establish connection. Getting? So when the connection is established, now you can start sending the queries. Then you will get the result. You can process that result. You can show the processed result to the end user. Getting? So all that activities we do in this Python program. So in Python program, what all things? One, establish connection, submit query, retrieve the processed result, then show that result to the end user, then handle errors, if any. Okay, so that here we do. Then your connector is there, which we are not developing. It is already provided by Python people. You just have to install it. But the main task of this is like a handshake. It is doing a handshake work. It takes the query from you, okay, and then it will submit that query to the DBMS. But while submitting it, it needs to make some appropriate changes also, because maybe you are submitting that query, okay, at that time it may be having some Python specific values like Python strings, Python integers, and all. Then it has to replace them with the appropriate MySQL related data types. So that compatibility work this connector does. Means replacing Python data types with MySQL data types. Then next thing is collecting the result. What your MySQL has processed the query. It has given you the result. That result is in MySQL specific form. Making that in Python specific. Like from there, varchar has come to convert it into string. From there, decimal has come, convert here to float. So that data type compatibility, this connector does. Okay. Not only that, it does the error handling. Now, some errors which are generated in MySQL, how Python will know, like primary key violation. I hope you're understanding, right? When you create a table, you give a primary key. So if that primary key is duplicated, so will there be a primary key violation, right or no? So that primary key violation is MySQL error. But then how to tell that error to the Python? So it has to do that error compatibility also, that error matching of MySQL errors to Python specific exceptions. It will convert that MySQL error to Python exceptions. Getting? So all that work this connector does. And what does MySQL database does? Manages your data. It is maintaining your tables. It is maintaining records in it. It takes the query, executes that query. While executing, it may add some records in the table. It may modify, it may delete, it may retrieve the record. So all that query processing and managing your database is the job of database and providing security to it. Okay. So all that who gives MySQL database. So all the three, what they do is clear to you. So this is your main application, establishes connections, submits query, retrieves the result of the query, processes the result, show it to the end user, release the memory resources, all application does. Connector takes the query, make it MySQL understandable form. Take the response for MySQL and make it Python understandable form. Getting? Then, if the error come from MySQL, make it appropriate exception in Python. If the error which is generated from MySQL, you have to make an appropriate exception in Python. That is connector's job. And MySQL job is to maintain your data on the disk, maintain your tables, perform operations on it, adding record, deleting record, providing security to it, then running the query which has come from your application that this does. Okay. So just give me quick confirmation that these three layers are clear to you. The application layer, then the connector layer, and the database layer. That is called a data source. This is your database management system. Okay, just tell me. You are able to hear me no? Carefully.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Okay. Now we'll see how to do this in Python one by one. It's quite easy. Database connectivity in Python is so easy comparative to other languages. Okay, now the prerequisite. One is you need to have MySQL installed. Okay, from tomorrow I'll go to some other remote place. Actually, I've come to some other place to take the sessions. So there are other classes also going on simultaneously. So there is little bit disturbance. Now I hope you will manage today. In the next session, sure I'll go to some other isolated place. First thing what you will need is install MySQL server. I guess many of you might have done that already. If not, please do it. Uh, some of you have already attended MySQL sessions, so I'm sure you have MySQL installed. I don't know about Morgan. He also might have done because a lot of knowledge you have related to SQL. So you install your MySQL Workbench and MySQL Server, both things. MySQL Server is your database management, and you have a MySQL Workbench, which is a client UI through which you can type the queries and do the work. Okay? So install both the things. So install MySQL Community Server and MySQL Workbench. These are the two separate softwares, huh, guys. This community server is your actual database management system. It is continuously running in the background. Okay, port 3306. On that, it is giving the service to the client request. Its job is to manage your database. Take the SQL queries, compile the query, execute query, make appropriate change in the database, generate response. Then all that is this job. And providing a client UI through which client can type queries. Now, actually, we are not going to do it because we are going to do it via Python. Okay, but Workbench is one environment through which you can type queries and see the result. It is just a client environment provided. It's a UI, user interface. It provides an environment where we can type the query, submit the query, get the result of the query, okay, and view that result. So for that we have. But actually, as we are going to do Python database connectivity, so seldom will need this workbench. We will be sending the query and collecting the result through Python application only, isn't it? So these two things we need, right? So I'm assuming you have this community server on your machine and the workbench. Then first you create one database and keep it. Because unless until you have database, you cannot create tables under it. Database is like a namespace. You're creating a namespace, and in that namespace, you're going to create tables. Okay. So you create the database, give any name to the database. Okay. And now once you want to enter into that database to start creating the table, you have to use that database, isn't it? Okay. So first thing what we will do is quickly I'll show you. I'll start my workbench. Now already workbench is installed in my machine, and I'm assuming because I guess Garb is having. I don't know about Morgan. Yes, he also might be having. Yes, Morgan. About others, I don't know. Those who have joined today. So in my machine, this workbench is already there. Actually, you can create everything through Python script. There's no need also to come in Workbench. There is no need also to start Workbench. Understanding each and everything, creating the database, creating tables, adding record, everything through Python script you can do. Okay. So for time being, what I'm doing is I'm just starting. Now there are so many connection strings. Any one I pick, or you can create a new one. If you want, you can create a new. Okay, give any name to it like Python DB or Python database connectivity. Okay, I'll test the connection. When I'm testing the connection, it is asking you for the root password. I'll give root password. Okay, continuing with it. Okay, now I'll just double click. It will start with your environment. Okay, now in this, I'm going to create this database, create database, company DB, create database, company DB. Okay, so I'm creating this database. The database is created. Now, if you want to create a table inside it, then you have to enter into that database by writing use company DB. Okay. At the end, what we'll do is we'll see one application where nothing we have to do via Workbench. Everything through Python script only. It's creating the database, creating tables in it, everything we will do it via Python script. Okay, so I'll show you that too. Now the first part is done. Like we are assuming MySQL server and the workbench is installed. Then we started that workbench, and in that we created one database and we have switched in that database, right? Okay. Now the next step is we need the connector, isn't it? That connector which is going to connect your Python application with MySQL. That's what the logo which I've shown here. Through Python script, you're going to interact with MySQL. These are two different technologies, guys. MySQL is a complete different thing. It's a database management system. Python is a host language. And still, these two things can interact with each other through that connector. Getting? So that connector we have to install. So install PyMySQL package. Now, how to do it? Very simple. Peep. Peep is a recursive full form. I hope you know it. Peep install packages, right? So to install any package from the internet, it will just simply search it on the internet. It will search the repository. Repository means you got no the place where that library is kept for the world. Getting? So it will search the repository, go there, download it, and install it in your machine. Install means it will put it into some global place where all these libraries are kept. So there it will copy it. Get it? Now just check whether that is done or not. So what I'll do is in my machine, I'll do it. Now actually we don't need this workbench anymore. Everything we have to do it through Python script. Now I'm not going to use Google Colab and all. I'm doing it on the client side, client machine. Okay? So you can start VS Code and all, and you can do it in VS Code. If you have VS Code, I'm sure that too is there with everyone. This is the very favorite and famous editor. Okay? So you can start VS Code, open your folder in which you're keeping the scripts. So during basic Python, we have created one folder. If you want for advanced side, create another one, or in that only we will do. It's a bit slow. Okay. Now what you do is you open the folder in which you want to do the work. So I'll just open the folder and I'll open our folder which we created during basic Python. If you remember, during basic Python, I created basic Python April 2026. Okay, so I'll select that folder, right? And then what I'll do is here I'll create my scripts. Okay, but before creating script, as I said, we are supposed to come to the terminal, like terminal, like new terminal. You can come to the terminal and here you can type the command pip install and what it is, py mysql. Enter. Maybe in my machine it will say requirement already satisfied. Maybe. Check in your machine. See, in my case, it is telling requirement already satisfied because in my machine it is already installed. In your machine, it will start downloading it. It will search for the appropriate repository. It will check the location where that library is there on the internet. From there, it will download and not only download, it will install it and put it into the appropriate global path. Means the place where all the libraries are kept. This is that place. Okay? So just give me quick confirmation if your library installation is done, then we can move ahead with the next thing. Is it done? The downloading, like that message will come.
Oh, yes. Done.
Okay. What about Morgan? I don't know.
Yes, sir. And
Sure. No? Okay. Now we can test it. So we can verify whether the installation is done or no. So for that, you can just simply write import PyMySQL and just give a message. If the script is running successfully, means the libraries is there. It is installed. So I'll just create one script. I'll give Python database connectivity 1, like JDBC in Java, so I'm giving pdbc1.py. We will import PyMySQL. See, it's there. And just I'm putting one print statement. Okay. Just a simple print statement like PyMySQL. Okay. Loaded successfully or successfully. Right? And just you can run this script Python pdbc1.py. Now, when you enter this Python pdbc1.py and you get this message, means that library is imported successfully. Okay. Now, some more things we'll discuss. Okay. If this part is done, then what we'll do is first step is to establish connection through your Python script to MySQL. Get it? Because these are the two different entities. And when they want to interact, they have to establish connection. Unless and until the connection is established, you cannot send the queries and you cannot get the result for the query. It is same, na? Like when you want to talk on the cell phone, first you dial the number. That side to whomever you have dialed the number, that side the phone will be ringing. And when that person picks the call, we say the connection is established. And when the connection is established, now you can start talking. Means the message is going from your side to that side to your side. And then when you disconnect, we say logically the connection is break. Now you cannot do the communication, right? Same way, if your Python script wants to send the query to DBMS and whatever result DBMS has sent, Python script want to collect it. They have to first establish connection. So how to do that connection? Okay. So for that, there are some connection parameters. What those parameters are, that I'll tell you. See here. So understanding connection parameters. So your Python application is going to interact with your DBMS only when the connection is established. And how it is going to establish connection by calling this connect method of your PyMySQL library. This PyMySQL library is having one function in it called as connect. And to that, you have to pass some connection information. Some standard connection information is there. And if the connection is successful, you'll get one connection object. And that connection object you have to preserve for all the next things. Means using the connection object, you have to get a cursor object. Through cursor object, you will give the queries. Getting? And whatever queries you give, you'll get the result for that query. But queries can be submitted only through cursor. Who will give you the cursor? Connection. Who will give me the connection? Connect method of MySQL. Everything is interdependent. This connect method will take all the parameters and based on that, the connection is established. Successful, you'll get a connection object. Using connection object, you have to acquire cursor object. Using cursor object, you will submit the query and get the result. Get it? So what all parameters are there? Very easy. First, you have to give the IP address of the machine on which your MySQL is running. Now, if the MySQL is running on the same local machine on which your Python script is, your Python script is on some machine and your MySQL is also running on the same machine. So we say it is on the local machine. That time you'll give localhost. Localhost automatically maps to the current machine IP address. But suppose if it is distributed, your MySQL server is on some different machine. Then you have to give the IP address of that machine on which MySQL is running here. Okay, so localhost is actually the IP address of the machine on which your MySQL database server is running. Okay, then next you have to give the username, the admin name, and admin name we give root. Then what is the password you have set to connect with that admin, and to which database you want to connect, to give the database name. All these parameters are correct. If the IP address is correct, the admin name, the password, the database name, everything is successful, then you'll get a connection object. Otherwise, it returns none, but you can trap it. Means there's the exception handling mechanism also. I'll show you how to do it. Okay. But are the parameters clear to you? Host. What does host indicate? It indicates the IP address of the machine on which MySQL database server is running. Okay, so as I'm writing the script on my local machine and the MySQL is also on the same machine. Therefore, what I'm doing is I'm using localhost. Then what is the admin name? Root. Then what is the authentication password to connect with that root user? Root only. I have set. What you have set in your machine, you have to give. And next is the name of the database. Okay, so just now we created company DB to give that database name. Okay, ठीक है? So all these parameters I hope are clear. We will write one script in which we'll just establish connection and we'll just check whether the connection is successful or not. Okay, so first parameter is host. It is the place where database server is, the host name or the IP address of the MySQL server. Then second is the username, the username used to authenticate with MySQL server. Then the password, and then the name of the database. All these parameters are required to successfully connect with MySQL database. Okay. If you don't give database name, it is okay. Connection will establish, but then you won't be able to create tables and all. Then you have to give the command to create database also. Means that creating database also you have to do it through Python script. You can do it. Huh? It is possible. Okay. So give me quick confirmation if these parameters are clear. Then we will write a complete script for establishing connection.
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Sure, it's not that difficult parameters. No, not much complicated. Okay.
Sir,
Huh.
actually, how to take those parameters like your local host, in case different server name, how to take where to.
Then you have to give that IP address of that machine. For that, there are some commands, no? IP config and all. On the terminal, you have to give. On the terminal, you will give that command, then it will give you that public IP address name of that machine on which your MySQL server is running. Mention that name over here. We do it in websites and all. If you have hosted your website, if you have created dynamic website, and then you have hosted that website. Hosting means, right? You have kept it on the, you have taken a space, you have purchased the space, then you have to copy your website on their storage. So obviously the database also you're using there only, no? Like from GoDaddy you have taken or anyone. So you use their database only. So that time you have to mention that IP address. Okay? So there are commands, no, to get the IP address of the machine. Mention that over there. Okay? And when you're connecting with MySQL, it authenticates it. No? You saw that, no? When I started Workbench, that time also say it was asking for the password. Like if I click on it, does it ask the user is root and the password? So that you have to provide. Okay, and the name of the database. I think there is ipconfig command only to get the IP address of that particular machine. There are actually two IP addresses, na? Private IP and public IP. Now we'll see a complete program for establishing connection. First, I'll tell you the steps and then we will write a script. First step, what you have to do is you have to import that PyMySQL library. Okay, the library which we have installed, this one, PyMySQL. So step number one is import the library so that that library is loaded in the memory. And once the library is loaded in the memory, we can use it in our script. Whatever that library is, it will get loaded in the machine. And once the library come in the machine, we are free to use it in our script, right? So accesses the necessary tools for database interaction. So for doing the database interaction, we need the libraries, the modules, and that are in that PyMySQL. So you have to import it. Once you import, that library gets loaded in the memory, and now you're free to use it in your script. Okay, that is done. Now step two is establish connection and acquire connection object. You'll get a connection object. Very important because using that connection object only, the next things are going to happen. Unless and until you get a connection object, you cannot do anything after that. Means once we get the connection object, then only through connection object we can get a cursor object. If I get a cursor object, then only I can submit the queries. The same concept is in JDBC. If you have done Java database connectivity, in that we have statement. Here they call it as cursor. So step two is creates connection. Okay, so for doing that, just now I told you, there is a function called connect in your library, PyMySQL library. So PyMySQL dot connect and then pass the parameters like first the host name, that is the IP address of the machine on which your MySQL is running. Then you will be giving the username, then the password, then the name of the database. Okay, see here. So establishes a link between the application and the database. Okay, so they will follow some protocol because whenever two entities communicate, they have to follow some protocol. Protocol means some set of rules. Connection established, then verify whether the connection is established. Just print a debug message. You can just give a print message that connection is successful. So ensure that the connection is functioning correctly. How? Just by giving a debug statement and then close the connection. Okay. Once you close the connection, the resources are freed. And once the connection is closed, you cannot send the query or you cannot get the result for the query. So maintains good resource management and prevents leaks. Leaks means such memory which is not freed also and you're not using also. It is not getting freed also. Getting and you have lost the reference, therefore you are not using also. So to avoid such leaks, it is good practice to close the connection so that whatever resources, resources in terms of memory, we can say, it is occupying, that memory is freed. Okay, so all these four steps we need to implement. Okay, see a very simple program. Import PyMySQL. This is the first step, importing the library. Second step is creating connection. PyMySQL.connect. Pass the parameters, you'll get a connection object. Then third is verify that the connection is successful. Just will give a print statement. And at the end, we will do the connection disconnection. In standard things also, na, when you do the uh, phone connection, so when you disconnect, so what happens is you can use that line for someone else, right? The resources are freed. Okay, so you have to close the connection. Not only in phone communication, many other things. right? So the steps are clear to you. You can try doing this. You can just create a program. If you want, I'll create a separate program called Python database connectivity 2.py, suppose. Okay, font a little bit, we can change. There is a feature. There is a feature for preferences. I guess it is in preferences. No, preference only, but something else. Settings, I think. Text editor, then the font. Okay. Yeah, you can change the size. I'll keep it the same font, but the size will increase. Okay. So I hope the size is increased a little bit. Yes, obviously. Import PyMySQL. Then con is equal to PyMySQL. If you want to give an alias name, you can give here. Import PyMySQL as an something you can give. Okay. Dot connect. Okay. Now, many times you may say, like in my VS Code, I'm not able to get these things automatically. When I say dot, it doesn't come. So you can add that Python extension from here. No? There are extensions. So here you can add that Python extension. See, I have added it. You can just search Python and then install it. So if you add that Python extensions, automatic that feature come. Okay. Now we'll pass the parameters. First is the host, right? I'm giving localhost, comma, user. These are the parameters, keyword parameter. I hope you remember keyword parameter, positional parameter, right? User is root.
Sir, yeah, Python extension path, is it?
Yes, Python extension. Password is also root. And then last is database name. Yes, I'll give the database name. We created called company D. Okay, then we'll put a print statement that is connection successful or connected successfully. Okay, and then I'll write con dot close. Okay, now you can just run this script Python pdc2. Enter. Now see, if the connection is successful, if all these parameters are successful, you should get this message connected successful. Okay, I guess done. Now you can give me confirmation regarding this as well. If this is done successfully,
Yes, sir.
Now let's learn something more, like how to send queries, right? Then getting the result for the query. Okay, so is it done? Morgan has typed
Sir,
yes.
username, password, that local host, how you are taking? Can you show me? Uh,
No, when you installed Workbench, so that time you might have given in your machine when you installed MySQL. So that time you might have done the configuration of it.
yes, yes.
So that time what you gave them. Whatever is in your machine, you give. In my machine, it is root only. In your
No,
machine,
no.
root and
Or SQL Workbench already is installed in my machine, but just I opened and create new query editor. In that, how to take that connection data. Okay, okay, sir. Okay, okay, I got it.
there you just have to create the database, nothing else.
So, is there any script to get the details in the database, or how I can uh, database connect,
Exactly.
manage connections or connection? Okay, okay, sir. Username, password, root is there, but password.
It is not getting connected. So password, whatever you might have given, that will be there. Like when I
Mm,
installed MySQL in my machine, that time I had
okay,
given root only. Therefore, I'm using that.
okay, sir. So, okay, sir. You can carry on. But
By any means, you need to connect first because unless and until this thing is not done, you cannot proceed further only.
yeah, that username I can able to the manage server connection if I go the host name 127.0.0.1 root user
That is
use
by default. No? By
uh,
default, local
but
host is one.
no database is not yet created. So while creating database, we have to give the username and password or what?
No, no,
Or
no.
before
This is given very before when you
before.
installed your MySQL server. When you are
Okay,
installing MySQL community server, na, so that time only it asks you for uh,
okay,
authorization settings. So that time only you have given it. Now, one thing is you can reinstall MySQL community server and
okay.
give this.
So is there any admin? No. Okay, password or something like that or
Need to search.
okay.
Okay?
Okay, sir, you can carry on. No problem, no issues. Uh,
Now, I hope this connection is successful. Now, the next step is we have to start submitting the queries and get the result for the query, show the output of that to the end user, isn't it? So, for submitting the query, you need to get a cursor object. Okay? Now, if
oh,
you
I
have
got it.
got, is the connection successful?
Yeah, yeah, sir. Already, yeah, it's corrected.
So, through the script you checked, through
No, sir.
Python
Actually,
script,
manage connections. Just connection. I given.
manage connection. So, that
Uh,
time you might have set that username and password.
Now I can able to see the records. Yeah.
Okay? Continuing ahead. So, as I said, without getting the cursor object, you cannot send the queries and you cannot get the result of that query. So through the host program, that is through Python, I have to submit SQL query to the backend. So how I'm going to encapsulate that query? So that I'm going to do it through cursor object. And who is going to give me cursor object? Connection object. Connection object will give me cursor object. And once I get that cursor object, con dot cursor. Okay, there is a cursor method of your connection object. You'll get a cursor object. And then using cursor object, it will have an execute method. Execute is a method of cursor object. But who will give you the cursor object? This cursor method of connection. And connection we already have got. Con is equal to MySQL, py dot connect. So it has given you a connection object. Connection object's cursor will give you a cursor object. Cursor dot execute, and you can send the query. Okay. Now depend if it is a select query or insert query or whatever. So if it is a select query, you'll get a row set here. If this is a select query, so select query will go to the backend. Backend will run the query, and whatever records are there of that select query, it will send it back to Python. So will Python collect that row set, also called as row set, result set, record set, so many names. Collect that row set, and Python will process that row set and show it to the end user. Getting? So how to do it? That we will learn one by one. So next step is creating cursor object. I said cursor is used to execute SQL statements. Means from Python script, I want to submit SQL queries to the backend. So I can send the SQL queries to the backend through Python only via cursor object. There is no option. So first you need to get the cursor object. Now how to get that cursor object? So cursor object who will give you connection object, and connection object we have already acquired by establishing connection. Is it or no? This con. Okay. So after this, don't do closing. Morgan, you can mute the mic.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So here con dot cursor is there. So this method will return your cursor object, and that you can collect it in some cursor object. Con dot cursor. You got a cursor object. And that cursor object you can use to execute query. Means cur dot execute. Okay, and then pass any select query. Okay, so this select query through your library, via your library. Actually, this cur and all are part of that PyMySQL. So this query via your PyMySQL library will go to the backend. Backend will run, produce the result. That result again your MySQL library will collect and present it to the Python script. Python script will collect it and show it to the end user. Now, how to do that processing is the next step. Okay? Okay. See, syntax is like this. Cursor object is equal to con dot cursor. Con dot cursor. So this cursor method, this is a method of connection object. So this cursor method of connection object will give you a cursor object. Use this cursor object. Like, first you need to get which object? Connection object, which we have done previously in the previous slide. In the previous slide, I showed you how to get a connection object. Con is equal to pymysql.connect and pass all the parameters, the host name, the username, password, the database name, and we got a connection object. Using that connection object's cursor method, you will get a cursor object. And using that cursor object, you will execute queries. Okay? Now what we'll do is we'll write a script through which we will create one table in that database. Okay? See, for you, I start MySQL Workbench again to show you that is really the table created there on. Okay? See, when I connect it, ask me that password. It doesn't happen in your machine, Morgan. Whenever I click, the dialog comes. Unless until this dialog is coming means something is wrong. This dialog should come for username password. Then I give that password. Now I enter here. Okay. See here. If you check this company DB, left side you can see there is company DB. And in that tables, no table is created. Is it? Is there any table created? No. Now we will write a script, Python script, and through Python script we'll create a table and we'll check whether the table is created here or not. We'll cross verify here. Okay, right? So just confirmation.
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Till here, keep doing it simultaneously. Please
Sir, I have a
try.
doubt.
Huh.
Sir, what if we did not give a con dot close in the code?
Actually, it won't create any problem. It is a good practice, as I
Okay.
said, just to avoid memory leaks. I said, sometimes like if you don't close, so whatever resources your connection has acquired may not get freed and they may not get utilized also. Means you are not accessing it also because uh, you have closed your script. So you cannot access it also. And
Okay.
it is not freed also. Not freed and not accessible. Therefore, that will be a leak. So just to avoid memory leaks, it is good practice to close the connection. So that once you close the connection, whatever resources your connection has acquired will get freed and that memory can be reutilized by someone else. Okay.
Okay, sir. Understood. Yes, sir.
Now we will write a script through which we'll create a table. So as I said, like, see, in this company DB, there is no table yet. Now what we'll do is we'll write a script. Here I'm not going to create a table, create table name, not through this UI, through Python script I'm going to do. And for running that, we will need cursor object and cursor objects execute method. Very simple. See, first step is import the library, then establish connection, which I already told, right? PyMySQL.connect, give the host name, username, password, database name. Connection is successful. Then using connection objects cursor method. This is a cursor method of that connection object, which will give you a cursor object. Okay. Now in just a string, I have typed and kept a query, create table query. If you want to type it on multi-line, then use three quote. I hope you know that three quoted string concept is there. So on three lines also, multiple line, you can type this. So in a string, you type the query. And now this cursor objects execute method, cursor dot execute, and pass the query. You pass this query. Okay. Now this execute method will do what? Take your query. And as this cursor object is of that library, means it is the interface. So it is taking the query and submitting it to MySQL. MySQL will run the query. And this query is executed by MySQL. And then we are just displaying a message and then again closing the connection. Okay? Very simple. Here we are not going to do a through script. Suppose I'll create a separate script only for that. Okay. First step is import PyMySQL. Then con is equal to PyMySQL.connect. Okay. Host equal to localhost, user equal to root, password equal to root, and then host user password and then database. Name of the database is company D. Okay, first part is done. The connection is established. Now using this connection object, I'm going to acquire a cursor object. So cursor is equal to con dot cursor. Okay. So do we have a cursor method of this connection object? If you want, you can check the type of that connection object. Okay. So it is a connection object, database connection. So con dot cursor will give you a cursor object. Create a query. Like I can create query in this way. Three quoted string, and inside that I'll type my query. Create table employee. Okay. Then I want employee ID, name, and salary. EMP ID, integer, then primary key. If you want to give auto increment, you can give. Then name, varchar, extra conditions you can give, not null. And then salary. Salary int only you want to keep double, it's up to you. That also if you don't want to leave null. Okay, that's all. So I have created one create table query, create table employee, and the fields, but whole thing I've stored in a triple quoted string. I hope you know about triple quoted string. It allows you to type the string more than one line. Single quoted and double quoted strings are only one line. You cannot extend it to more than one line. If you want a string more than one line, then you have to use three quote. It's called as a multi-line string. Okay, so I'll write cursor dot execute, and then I'll pass this query. Done. And then I'm just giving a print message table created. Okay, and then I'm closing the connection. Okay, Python pdc3.py. Okay, is it giving a message table created? Table created. Now we can confirm it. This side in Workbench I'll come, and here I'll just refresh. There's one refresh button. Okay, the moment I refresh, can you see here in the table, one employee table with columns, employee ID, name, and salary is created. Do you agree, guys?
Yes, sir.
Just check to check whether in your MySQL also it is created successfully. Okay, now we'll move ahead. I guess Morgan is still stuck with this part.
Actually, that username password I am getting some issue, so I could not able to connect it. So
The
you can
main thing
tell.
is when you start Workbench, it shows that connection. You created one connection, and then when I click on it, it should show you a dialog for username and password. Without
Yes,
that,
sir. But that one is asking old password. What is the old password, new password, confirm password like that? Previous password I forgot, so I don't know what is that.
So one thing is there, you can install MySQL server again,
Is there any way to
prepare
create
it.
new user without that admin user? We can't create it, right? So,
No, admin
yeah.
is needed. No?
Okay,
Admin is
okay.
having
Later I will check,
privilege to
sir.
create.
Okay, yeah, later I will check, sir.
ठीक है. One more thing we will discuss today. That is inserting records. Okay. So here we'll see how to insert one record, batch records, like multiple record, hard-coded record, dynamic records, one by one, right? First step is if you want to insert a record. Now this is the hard-coded one. Direct values I have put. Okay, so insert into employee values. Three values I have given that I've stored in a query and that I give it to execute. Con.execute, pass the query. Okay, and con.commit. Now, in this case, commit is necessary. Now, you'll say in which case. So, those queries which are manipulation queries. Manipulation queries means which are modifying your data in the database. Example, insert, delete, update. These are the three queries. Insert query, delete query, update query. Is it? These three queries make changes in the database. So what they say, when you're using insert, delete, or update, all these things are happening in the memory. It is not immediately reflecting it in the backend. Means in the backend, it is not getting affected. So if you want whatever changes have happened in the primary memory to get affected in the secondary memory, you have to call commit. Means when you call commit, then only whatever changes have occurred in the primary memory will be made permanent on the secondary. Means all the changes which are there in your primary storage, they all are copied on the secondary storage. Till then, everything is happening in the primary. Understanding? The records are getting inserted, then updated. So it is in the temporary memory. And the moment you call commit, the changes are saved from primary to secondary. Okay, so that is necessary, especially in which queries? Insert query, delete query, and update query. Now we'll just check in MySQL it is mandatory or no. In general, they are saying, but we will confirm because sometimes in MySQL it is auto commit. Means in MySQL, it will automatically make the changes um, in the backend. Okay, so one script I'll write for inserting one record in that table, not here, through script. You have to write a script. That is what the main goal. No? Why to go to Workbench and do the work? We are going to write a host scripts. Okay. Some part from the script I copy, like import, connection, and cursor. Okay. So I've imported the library, then I've established the connection. Now we got a cursor object. Once the connection is done, you'll get a connection object. Connection.cursor will give you the cursor object. Now we'll write a query SQL equal to insert into employee values. Suppose ID I'm giving 100 or 101, whatever you want. Name I'm giving. Then we will take the salary. Done. Now this query, which I've stored in a string, that I'll pass to execute method of this cursor. Okay. If you want to give a message like this, record inserted and then close the connection. con dot close. Con dot close. Now run the script. Fork script. Python pdc4.py. Why it is giving error? Because they didn't pass
Yes.
the query only. That is a blunder, right or no? This is the blunder done. So you have to pass the query. See ya. Now the script is executed. You get a message record inserted. We'll cross verify. See ya. Okay. Now we will check really the record is. So here I'll issue a query. Select star from employee. Use the database. See. No. So it is confirmed that MySQL also doesn't take auto commit. You have to give the commit. Without that, the record won't get saved. Okay? So what was mandatory before this? Con dot commit. I said con dot commit is compulsory to make the changes permanent from primary to secondary. Okay? So con dot commit is there. Okay? Now cross verify. See, is the record gone now? We will be writing programs. Once we learn tick enter library and all, we will create some GUI screens and standalone desktop screens, and through that we will take the value and save the records. That thing also I'll show you. Okay? I'm just giving the explanation why we have to give commit. I told you already. If you don't give commit, these all things are happening in the primary. Especially this is for which query? Insert, delete, and update. Those queries which are doing changes in the backend. So it is not immediately doing change in the backend. It is not immediate update. It's called as a deferred update. Means it is saying that unless you call commit, I'll keep doing these changes in the primary memory. And the moment you call commit, I'll transfer all these changes to the secondary. Now only I'll transfer all the values to the database when I call commit. See here, data changes remain temporary until committed. Data changes remain temporary until committed means they are in which memory only? It keeps it in the primary memory only. And the moment you call commit, it will make it permanent now. It will transfer all these values from the primary to secondary. And your database is on the secondary only, right? Okay? Now we'll see how to add dynamic records also. Means the values which are coming runtime. Okay? These are hard-coded values. Suppose these values are coming from the keyboard in some variables, and then I want to replace it in the query and then execute it. So that is also possible, like inserting dynamic record. Three variables and directly have assigned it, but these values can come from keyboard. Here you can write like int and then input, please enter employee ID, please enter name, salary. And then these values will be replaced in place of this placeholder. Okay, so you have to write a query with this placeholders, %s, %s, %s. So insert into employee values percentage. If you give percentage for all is okay. And if you want to give the appropriate one, like salary is a floating, you can write percent %F. So here you can write percent %D. But MySQL says if you give me string, then also I'll store it in the respective column. If you give string, then also I'll store it in int column. If you give string, then also I'll store it in a float column. Okay? So you have just created a query with a placeholder. These are called as placeholders. Means here the actual value is going to get substituted. The value is going to get substituted over here. So you wrote a query. Now what you have to do is cursor dot execute. Till now we were just giving query. Now we have to give query along with that the tuple of values. This is a tuple of values. Employee ID, name, salary. Now first what it will do in that query, it will replace that values, that placeholders. For first percentage, it will put employee ID, second percentage name, third percentage salary. So these three values are put in place of that placeholder in that query. And then that query is given for execution and then commit. So here, what is happening? Runtime, these values are coming from the keyboard. Employee ID, employee name, salary. These all values are coming from the keyboard. And that values you are replacing runtime in place of these placeholders. Understanding? Clear? See ya. Now, obviously, we are not going to do here. We'll write a script. Okay. Some initial part is same, importing, then establishing connection, then using connection object, getting a cursor. Then what I'll do is I'll create some variables, and instead of hard-coded value, what I'll do, I'll accept that value from the keyboard, like employee ID. Okay. See it, like EMP ID, name, salary. So directly assigning that values, oh yeah, 102 and all, we will accept it from the keyboard. Int input enter EMP ID. That will come in EID. Then name input enter name. And last is salary. I'm taking sal simple variable. While creating table, what we gave decimal, float, double we have taken. So just we can accept it in a float form. Float input. Okay. Enter salary. Done. Now, first I'll create a query with a placeholder. Okay, so I'm going to write query insert into employee values percentage, percentage, percentage. This is a query with a placeholder. Now we are going to execute this query. This query we are going to execute. So we already have a cursor object. So I'll just write cursor dot execute, pass the query first, and then pass a tuple of those three values. Okay. What it will do in that query, wherever the placeholders are, there it will replace EID, name, and salary and send the query for execution. Right? But I told you, unless you commit, the changes won't happen. So con dot commit, I'm doing, and then con dot close will do. Okay, we will run the script. 5. See, now it is asking from the user. I'll give 102, Neha 55,000, enter. It is telling you have an error in the SQL syntax. Check the manual that corresponds to your MySQL server version. Okay.
Sir, one comma is remaining in
Oh,
line number
right,
16.
right. Okay. So what it has done, it has replaced both the value, but here there is a quote and here it didn't put a quote. Yes, I got it. Here you can see it is giving the error. Okay, here we didn't give a message, na? Insert, record inserted, right? You can give a message, record inserted. And we'll try to add one more record, 103 I'll put, here, 6500, record inserted. And you can cross verify here. Run this query again. This query also we are going to run through Python script. Here for time being, for testing purpose, then showing. See, 101, 102, 103. Till now, the two records we inserted through this script, right? One more thing we will take and then we will wind up for today's session because there's some
Sir, we
disturbance.
have to give in the same order that which is in the database table column order only. We need to give in the same order
But
or
if you
different
want to
order.
change, then give the column names here. You know the rule for query. Like if the order is changing, like
Okay.
in the table, it is ID, name, salary, and I'm also giving in the same way. But you want to give in different, then mention the column names after this employee, round bracket, name, comma, ID, comma, salary. To that order you give. No, you remember, no? Like you can mention the column names also, no? After table name. Insert into employee,
Okay.
bracket, table name, and then, sorry, column names, and then values. If you are entering in your order,
Null also with the time declaring data type and you while giving input will give null. Is it null value suppose you want to give?
no, then you have to leave that field blank. No? Next, while creating the table only, don't give not null. But while creating the table, I have given
Okay. Okay.
here now what I gave, not null, not null. So it is compulsory that I have to give name and salary. Understanding? Because I have given
Okay.
this constraint, no, not null. If you don't give this constraint, then it will allow you to leave that column blank or leave this column blank. Getting? But as while creating table, I have mentioned, though it is compulsory, it's mandatory to give all the three values. Okay. Then same way you can insert multiple records also. Like here we have created only one record, right? But this way, if you are having many records in one list of tuples, means you have created a list and in that list there are tuples. And in each tuple that is ID name salary, ID name salary, ID in a tuple and there is a list of tuple. So that complete tuple only you can pass here. It will run that query for each record in that list. Each record, each tuple in that list. Each tuple in that list, it will run that query. Correct? So how to run it? I'll tell you. Instead of execute, you have to use execute many. And see, this is your list of tuples. Data, data is a list of tuple. This is first tuple, second tuple, third tuple. Every tuple is containing ID name salary, ID name salary, ID name salary. So this is your Python data. This is a list of tuple. So this is Python data. And this data you want to put it into MySQL. Query is same. Insert into employee values and give the placeholders. Okay. Now cur dot instead of execute, you have to give execute many. Pass that query and pass that list. This list you'll pass and the query you'll pass. So how many times it is going to run that query? This query will run how many times? As many values are there in that list. In the data, as many list tuples are there, that many times this query will run internally. Is it avoiding your for loop? Instead of we writing, instead of we executing that query in a loop for each tuple, in one go only it is happening.